Whatever corner of YouTube you find yourself in, there'll be creators that have been building huge followings by just sharing their learnings from their respective industry. But where are the doctors? And no, I'm not talking about the doctors that just share lifestyle and productivity advice. Sorry, Ali. I'm talking about the doctors creating accurate educational health content.
Dr. Azmain's medical quizzes.
Azmain has amassed 500,000 followers doing exactly this. In this episode, we talk about how doctors can succeed in the creator economy, and we discuss how Azmain has navigated life on the internet.
If you make outlandish claims as a healthcare professional on social media, you deserve to be struck off.
I begin this episode by asking Azmain why he thinks there's only recently been a push for doctors creating health content online. Quick thanks to Vishal for that. Please make sure you subscribe, like and share to help the channel to grow. I hope you enjoy.
We have seen throughout the COVID pandemic of how much health misinformation there is online. Instead of the misinformation being put out there with people who aren't qualified, why don't we flood these platforms with high quality health information that is going to end up being seen by the people who need it? I think that opinions are changing. The more older generation of healthcare professionals, there's not quite been a changing of the guard yet. There are some people who are still skeptical, but as my platforms have grown, I've been more and more open in my workplace with my colleagues, my family and friends about what I'm trying to do. And everyone loves it because it's all about the mission. I didn't start creating social media content with the sole aim of getting rich and famous. The aim is to spread knowledge and to make a difference. And I think when you boil it down to that, and when you explain that to people, they really resonate with that. And I think that's why we're changing opinions about what it means to be a doctor on social media. You are an educator, you are reaching out to people, you are trying your best to benefit public health. In clinical practice, you can reach out to a couple of people, patient one after another. You can diagnose, you can treat them, you can make a real difference. But I put out a video, it gets hundreds of thousands of views, and you're like, these aren't meaningless numbers. These are people who are actually watching my video and benefiting from it. They're gaining knowledge, and if their health care students, then that's going to help them in their exams, in their clinical practice. If they're patients, that might potentially be life-changing for them. They might go out to their doctor and seek out a diagnosis or seek help when they actually need to. That's why I think that we're getting this steady increase in healthcare professionals on social media right now, because we are truly seeing the value that it provides, and we're changing people's opinions.
That's a fantastic answer. You mentioned some of the barriers as a clinician that you face when you're deciding to produce content online and put your face out there, whether it is the fact that medicine has been traditionally professional academic field, and that if you're producing stuff, it needs to be peer reviewed in a published journal, and if you produce stuff beyond that, then it's deemed as unprofessional. And I think another aspect as well is, obviously with healthcare, you're dealing with people's lives, and the downside of getting something wrong in sharing health advice and information on a platform that, as you said, can reach millions is huge, right? So what were some of the hurdles and barriers that you faced beyond this as well when you first started?
One of the biggest problems is that it's been such a taboo, like using social media, like being a doctor and an influencer. For the longest time, it's been looked down upon, and even now we don't really associate ourselves with the word influencer, do we? We call ourselves content creators because that's what we're doing, or clinician creators. Influencer almost feels like a dirty word. Not that it should, but you just associate that with TikTok dances. As a healthcare creator, you are not your standard content creator or influencer. You have a lot of responsibility to represent the medical profession in the best possible light, because we are beacons of health information and people trust us, and our voices are authoritative, and we can't take that lightly. You have to think about, why am I making the content that I'm making? What is the purpose of it? Am I just putting meaningless crap out there into the void? Or am I actually making content that serves a purpose? So some of those barriers are, well, what do I actually make a video on? What are people actually searching for and looking for? Number two is, how is it going to be received? Is it a potentially controversial topic like COVID or vaccinations or all manner of other things that are really sensitive? And it's for that very reason that it deserves to be talked about, but you have to be very careful about the way you phrase it. And number three, one of the obvious barriers for any content creator is that it takes a hell of a lot of time to make content and grow a platform. So for the longest time, you are going to be just putting content out there and just hoping for the best. And you have to persevere through that. With that mission in mind, you know that you want to reach out to people. You have to continuously make that high quality content. And as a clinician, that's a hell of a big time sink, because you have to do extensive research, scripting, and then filming, editing, getting everything set up, posting at the right time. For any content creator, that's a lot. Juggling that alongside clinical practice and maintaining your portfolio, that is probably the biggest challenge that any clinician creator can face.
So tell me a little bit about your workflow. I mean, creating educational content, particularly in the healthcare field, it requires a balance of accuracy, but then also engagement, and then accessibility, because healthcare is diverse. You don't have one model, different patient. You have a diverse perspective of ethnicities, genders, ages, and it's about getting the content right for all those different demographics. And when you're looking to create content online, whether it is, let's say you want to start, I don't know, a lifestyle vlog or a tech review or gaming videos, there's a saturation of resources to help you out, but there isn't much insight when it comes to creating health content and what that process looks like. So let's walk through your workflow and how you ensure you tick those three boxes with accuracy, engagement, and accessibility.
I love Notion. Notion is just the best database to keep track of all my videos. If I come up with video ideas, I'll either put them in there or I'll put them in my phone's notes app. And I think the idea is the key. So it's this kind of block of like ideation and inspiration. So that's one block. And then there's actually planning out the content. Planning out the content involves deciding, is this the right video to be making here and now? Can I make an engaging enough script? If it's going to be a long form video, then it needs to be really well structured and well thought out. If it's going to be a short form video, I need to have a really solid hook that's going to engage people and keep them watching and continue to deliver until the end of that video. Make sure I continue delivering that value to the viewer. I think it's at this phase that I try to think of the three key tenets for any content creator. It's like, why am I making this video? Education, entertainment, and inspiration. It would be absolutely ideal to hit two of these three in every video. So the filming and the editing, I need to try and make that as engaging as possible. So like with my quiz format, I have this set format that I know works. I planned it out so it would go viral, and lo and behold, it did. Some of the other videos, I have the continuous background images coming up, the text in the middle to make sure they're continuously engaged. So I have those video elements that I certainly haven't perfected, but I've learned along the way that these strategies work, so that when I've got that final video packaged up and I put it out there, I know that it's going to get some views and I know that it's actually going to benefit people. Yeah. So I think those are the key steps in the workflow: the ideation and inspiration. Then you get to scripting, storyboarding, making sure that it's aligned. One thing I haven't mentioned is that I'm currently doing a master's degree in medical education, which I think really complements all of this. And you really learn so much because you really don't realize how much goes into building a medical school curriculum. And a lot of the stuff I'm learning is actually really useful for the content that I'm creating. One of those phrases that we learned during this course is constructive alignment. And what I mean by that is, what do you want to achieve with the content, essentially? And that's how you have to structure the video. What's the aim of your video? What are the learning outcomes? And how are you going to structure that video accordingly? Is it going to be a short form video that people are going to scroll through and it's going to grab their attention and make raise awareness of a really important issue? Is it going to be a long form video on a topic that people are searching about, or that is an important topic, or maybe doesn't have as many videos about it, and therefore you're raising awareness through putting out information by filling a content gap? So that in that phase you figure out what are my aims and objectives for the piece of content that I'm putting out. And then the final stage is the packaging, which is the filming, the lighting, the editing. Those are all things that I believe are secondary to the scripting and the content, because content is king. And then the flourishes with the editing and stuff is what's going to make you stand out. But without the solid basis of high quality evidence-based information, not even the fanciest editing is going to help in that regard. And that's why you have to remember the authority that you hold as a healthcare creator, and then the bells and whistles go later. So when you put that content out there, you can be confident that I made my best efforts to put something good out there into the world.
And as an extension to your workflow, a lot of creators now are incorporating AI, whether it is in the ideation phase or whether it is to help scripting. But so the problem with this is, of course, that ChatGPT, the medical content that it gives still isn't 100% accurate. So tell me, do you firstly use AI in your content creation process? And how do you balance the fact that, it's not going to be 100% accurate?
Great question. And the answer is yes, I have started using AI. And I have more plans, but given that we're talking about ChatGPT, that's the main one I'm using right now. But do I ask ChatGPT to write an entire script for me? The answer is no. Sometimes I will do that to see what it comes out with. And sometimes I'm like, some of this is good stuff. And some of it is absolutely shocking. That's one of the big worries. Are people out there who aren't qualified enough putting video ideas into ChatGPT and expecting it to be accurate, and then putting it out there as medical information when it's coming up with total nonsense?
Just a note to that, actually. We've seen that there's a rise of faceless YouTube channels, right, where people are literally just getting AI to script a video, and then they're getting an AI voice generator to literally talk that script, and then they're getting an AI to edit the videos and publish it. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next 5-10 years there might be some health content along those lines as well.
There already is. What you just said there, I was gonna make that exact same point. It's not 5 to 10 years in the future. I've seen it on TikTok. There are people making completely AI generated videos. The script, the visuals, the captions popping up, and they're on the wildest things. They're generating all of this information through ChatGPT with no kind of process of scrutiny, and they're just putting it out there. And because they know how to make engaging viral content, it is going viral because people can't help but watching. And
that voice, it's the voice.
It's
the
guy.
I'm gonna play it. Yeah. I'll play it in the background so the listeners can hear.
Interesting facts that will give you chills. Part 1. The last one is shocking. Facebook shut down 2 robots called Alice and Bob because they started talking to each other in their own language. No one can comment under this video and get 0 likes.
It's gonna be something crazy like, did you know that this supplement will increase your fertility and sperm count by 200%? Random facts that you didn't know. And then it's gonna be like, if you press share and comment the person who comes up on your feed right now, then you will live 5 years longer. And then it ends
random
like
facts that will save your life.
random facts that will save your life. That's the one. That is the exact. They keep coming up, and I'm like, bro. Okay, if we as healthcare creators made content as engaging as that, we can learn so much from these. If we make content as engaging as that and it goes viral, but it's actually high quality scientific evidence-based content, like, so many people would see these videos and so many people would benefit from them instead of just like filling their heads with crap. So yeah, this is the thing. AI is so powerful, and it's so dangerous as well. But we, as people who have this healthcare knowledge, can actually use it for good. So the way I'm using it is I put in a video idea and I'm like, please can you give me an outline for this particular video idea? And this is part of my playlist, Dr. Azmain's medical quizzes, or the history of medicine, or things you should ask your doctor about. These are some of my planned content verticals that I'm planning to make more of and double down on. I'll ask ChatGPT to write me an outline of this video. I can say it'd be a 8 to 10 minute video, or it's like a 1 minute short. Can you write me the most engaging hook that you can? ChatGPT knows how to do all that stuff, but you have to remember that it uses the internet as sources, and you don't know what sources it's using. It can give you an outline, but then it's your responsibility. The outline might be a very logical outline, but then you have to go and actually fill in the gaps of what content to actually put in there. And that would involve going through reputable news sites, the NHS website, PubMed, Mayo Clinic, or whatever other high quality health sources there are. And ideally you would then have a document where you've got all the references and you put them in the video description to say, this is where I actually got my information from, because ChatGPT is not going to tell you that. And if you put crap in, you get crap out. And even the most high quality, prestigious scientific publications have some random stuff in them that is not trustworthy. And you get so many of these health fluencers who have no medical qualifications, who are quoting these random articles that they find and touting them as facts. And that's not what science is about. That's why I really respect people like Dr. Ids and Dr. Curran, who call out the health misinformation, and they're saying, like, you need to look at all of this information with a critical eye. And that's what these people who just use AI like ChatGPT blindly are missing. And the one final point I'll say about AI is it's really exciting to see, like, the Photoshop and generative AI tools that are coming out. One of those barriers is B-roll and finding videos and content that accurately represents medical contents. You might need a dedicated medical illustrator for that, or an animator. And one of those things, I love my graphic design, but to actually get into Adobe After Effects or Blender to make 2D, 3D animations, that's stuff that I've done in the past, and I love that because I just love creating stuff. But again, learning After Effects or Blender to make 2D or 3D, that's a hell of a lot of time. That's multiple people's full-time jobs on top of the multiple people's full-time jobs I'm already doing. The advent of AI to create image-based or video of things that represent medical content, not necessarily anatomically accurate, but if I can use that in my workflow as part of a enticing visual that's going to capture the audience's attention, then that's brilliant. Then I can use that image to really drive home points that I'm making, because the visuals are complementary to what you're saying. There's a lot of doctors out there who have a lot of expertise and they're putting high quality content out there. Some of them are just putting their face on camera, and that's great. I think that we should be doing more of that. I am way too much of a perfectionist. I should just be turning the camera on, pressing record, and pressing send on things that I know are going to have an impact. But with my OCD, with the kind of standard of content I've set myself, I always want to keep leveling up and keep making as high quality content as possible. And I think AI is really going to help with that.
It is super interesting. And just to pivot slightly, so you've built, like, what is it, Nick, close to 500k followers across all social media platforms now.
400k, almost.
400k.
The dream.
Let's say 500k. 500k sounds a bit nicer. I'm going to put 500k in the YouTube title.
Nice.
So, yeah, it sounds a bit better. That's my learnings from Mr. Beast there. And so with your main audiences at the moment, of course, on TikTok and Instagram. But despite this, I've seen that you're investing a lot of time and resources into YouTube. And you're going above and beyond in helping the YouTube clinician creators.
Yes.
And you have a YouTube sign behind you right now. You don't have I don't see a TikTok or Instagram sign behind you. And so I wanted to get your perspective on whether you think there's an increased value in building an audience on YouTube over Instagram and TikTok.
It's a complicated question, but to put it simply, yes. They each have their merits and they each have their drawbacks. I never wanted to start an Instagram or a TikTok before I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I started my first YouTube channel in 2010. YouTube is the platform for creating a dedicated community of people who want to watch your videos. Instagram, I think it's for friends. So like mostly I follow people that I'm friends with, but also people that educate, entertain, inspire me. TikTok is just very random. There is absolutely merit in posting across all platforms because all platforms will have a different audience, and as healthcare creators especially, we have a duty to maximize the reach of that content because you don't know who's going to be watching from where. The more platforms you put it on, the more chance you have of the videos being seen by the right person. Having said all of that, I am putting a lot into YouTube because YouTube has given a lot to me as well. I made that decision in June 2021 that it's going to be 5 solid years before I stop posting. If I post for 5 years solid and I don't see any returns from then, only then will I even consider quitting because I knew right then and there that this has value. I saw people like Ali Abdal, Dr. Karan, Dr. Rohin Francis, the people who've inspired me, who I'm now lucky enough to call my friends. And I wouldn't be friends with them if I hadn't started posting on YouTube. I made a joke back at the YouTube Health Conference with Rohin, Midlife Crisis. The very first proper YouTube video I made about cardiac arrest, I sent to Rohin and he never responded. So, but now... now I see him watching my Instagram stories. You get me? You get me?
He's a secret fan now.
You betcha. But yeah, I take a lot of inspiration from him about the way that he combines education, entertainment, and inspiration. And so from Dr. Curran. And you can see that they're posting across all platforms, but YouTube is the one. It's where short form lives, it's where long form lives, it's where podcasts now live. My experience of YouTube has been they are so intent on building communities in a way that I haven't seen TikTok and Instagram doing. They care about their creators and they care about their creators' communities that they're building as well. Being part of the YouTube Shorts community, I've been invited to events, in-person events. I've talked about my channel. Every few weeks, we have updates on what's the news and inspiration from other creators in the YouTube health space. We have meetings. They're trying to create tools for us that are going to be really helpful in gaining our input from that. They're really trying to make sure that they care about their creators and the content they're making because ultimately it benefits them. Like YouTube, just like TikTok and Instagram, they're a multinational corporation whose best interests are to keep viewers on their platform to get ad revenue. So they know what they're investing in. From the shorts perspective, they're like poaching people off Instagram and TikTok. But from the health perspective, they know that investing in healthcare professionals is going to raise their reputation. They know that people are searching for health content on YouTube. It's good business to be encouraging more creators, more healthcare creators, to get on there on the platform and to make this high quality health content that people are going to watch. And I think that's why YouTube is one of the smartest options. Don't bother about TikTok and Instagram or Facebook if you don't have a YouTube channel first. And I think that's the key message.
Yeah.
But having said all that, the ideal is obviously to build your own platform out of it. And I feel like I haven't quite done that, and some of my colleagues have done that very successfully, like Ali Abdal with his part-time YouTuber Academy course, or like my friend Jake Portnoff, med school bro, who is soared past me on Instagram. He's almost got like 1.5 million on Instagram now, and he's
Amazing.
launched his like flashcards and
Lewis
his
as well, Geeky
booklets.
Medics.
Lewis
Yeah.
Lewis is incredible.
I think a lot of creators say the end goal is YouTube and building an audience in YouTube because you can leverage that audience for monetization.
Yeah.
And I think the reason is because YouTube viewership comes from connecting and having built a genuine audience, whereas I think the viewership on TikTok and Instagram is quite heavily based on the algorithm, where if you post a video, 20% of the initial first views get distributed to your followers, and the other 80% of the initial first views will get distributed to non-followers, and then based on retention engagement, the algorithm will decide whether to push the video further. Whereas on YouTube, it will very much be the people watching your videos initially will be the people who genuinely want to watch your videos and have a genuine connection with you and be clicking on you. And so I think I read somewhere that creating content on TikTok is almost like renting a house, whereas YouTube is likened to almost buying your own house, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like you're saying, we've seen that with Ali Abdul, and it's great seeing now health professionals doing that. Dr. Curran, releasing his book soon. Dr. Julie Smith has released her book. It's about finding ways to take a portion of your audience, not off the platform, but providing value to them in other ways to have that kind of longevity to your journey. And so I've forgotten what I was going to ask you. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent. But yeah, so you spoke a little bit about virality there. I didn't cut you off because what you were saying was so valuable, but I wanted to touch back on that because at the moment you don't post many long form videos. You post predominantly short videos, despite actually, let me say that I prefer your long videos. So I think you should invest more time into doing that. You probably heard that from other people, right?
Yeah.
In terms of short form videos, the problem I find is there's an emphasis on focusing on sensationalized hooks and following the trends, whereas long form content is all about providing quality.
Yeah.
And that aspect of chasing virality doesn't sit quite right with me when it comes to health information. So what's your perspective on that?
I'll be honest, I don't think it sits right with any of us. That's one of the key questions that we constantly raise in our health creators community, is like, how do you make these videos and get them out there when there is so much content on these platforms? I think the key is the content and making sure it's high value, high quality, evidence-based, researched. Without that as a grounded base, you cannot build on top of that. If you are going to try and hook your audience in for that health content, it might be a really subverting expectations type hook, or something that's really going to make them say, wait, what? And sometimes that might be proving that statement wrong, or sometimes it might be coming at it from a completely different perspective. Do you remember when the WHO announced that aspartame is a possible carcinogen? So I made a video. I started by saying, does aspartame really cause cancer? And I'm like, you immediately hook onto that. And then when that person is hooked, I make this crazy sensationalized claim, but then I go into in depth all of the basis around that, like the myth busting and the actual facts behind that. And I present those facts in a really engaging way as well. For example, for that particular video, it was quite funny. I played different characters asking the questions, and that might be the questions that the general public might have, and then debunking those with my blue scrubs and stethoscope on. I think those are the ways that you can capture an audience's attention without going off the rails. And that's how you can construct hooks that don't just capture attention, but actually provide adequate value and are based on the science. Because we were talking earlier about these viral videos that hook people in, but they're not based on anything scientific. They hook people in because they know about viewer psychology. It comes down to us as responsible and authoritative voices in healthcare to leverage those hooks, but actually hook them into staying in the whole video and getting the value from it in terms of accurate health information. So I think that's the way we get around it. That we start our videos really exciting, or we have a controversial take or something, but then we temper that with the actual high quality information that we're going to give. So if you make outlandish claims as a healthcare professional on social media, this is very strong, but you deserve to be struck off. You cannot be doing this for the views. You're obviously doing this for the views if you're making the high quality content, but if you're making outlandish stuff that goes against medical evidence, that is not on. That is absolutely not on, and we should be discouraging that completely, because then it comes to, where do we draw the line? And that line is very important as a healthcare professional, that you must maintain that professionalism and integrity when you're making content. And that doesn't have to conflict with making engaging and educational videos.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat of a double-edged sword, because I guess the reason YouTube are pushing creators to start pushing short-form content is because traditionally YouTube has been hard because of the fact that you're having to produce long, high-quality videos, whereas now you can just pick up your phone and post a 60-second video and upload it. And so it's a bit of a double-edged sword, that the fact they're pushing out shorts to increase the amount of creators there are on the platform, but then also specifically for the health content community, there is that aspect. And I think with a lot of creators, I think shorts is probably easy to get stuck in trying to replicate viral videos, and you fall into this rabbit hole. And this is something I wanted to ask you specifically, because I think what sets you apart is the fact that you have a consistent format and a consistent value proposition. And I was listening to a podcast with Colin and Samir, and they talk about the best ways to optimize from viral videos is to have this consistent replicated format. And so talk to me a little bit about this, because I think it will be hugely valuable for any aspiring clinician creators to hear this.
If you find a content format that works, stick with it. I have a whole list of content. Like, man, do you know the most frustrating thing? There is so much content I want to make. I have so many ideas, and I have so many thoughts about how to make those videos look absolutely insane. But it's just the bandwidth of being a clinician and doing a master's degree and building a business on the side that kind of holds me back. But the quiz, I remember putting out my first ever quiz on the kidneys onto TikTok, and I was like, this is quite cool. I took an entire month off posting content to refine that quiz format until I put out one on the heart, and it's the format that you see today. And you can see the gamification aspects, the words popping up, the images in the background, the levels. If you make it entertaining, people will come back to it. And it's like a little dopamine boost to see Dr. Azmain's medical quizzes, and you can test your knowledge and you can feel good about yourselves if you get the questions right. You can share with your friends and family. You can boast about, oh, I got 5 out of 5 this time. So that format, I just felt that it really works. But I want to diversify for sure. And if you go back to some of the other content I was making on like the heat waves, polio outbreaks, the other stuff that I'm making for the NHS, because I'm doing like collaboration videos with the NHS, for example, 5 signs of a heart attack that mean that you should call for help. I have a particular format for that. It's me talking to camera, but with kind of fade-ins and transitions with B-roll footage and the text popping up in the middle. And we know that's a content format that works. We know that viral short-form content looks like this, and so we can use the same kind of format for our health videos. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you can just modify these formats to fit health content. And that's why I love watching people like Mr. Beast or Ryan Trahan and Ali Abdaal, people in all sorts of niches, to find out what is it about their content that keeps people watching and how can I use that for my own health content. I made a video reacting to Mr. Beast, and that video I made in the style of Mr. Beast. So that was really a really fun experiment. I made a documentary style video on the world's most expensive drug, and I remember I spent 14 months working on that thumbnail. It took me 14 days to properly script, film, record, edit. It was a lot of work, but it was so worth it because I know that I want to get into these documentary style videos. And coming back to formats, the medical quiz format is a great one. Reacting to news topics is a great one. Reacting to videos off TikTok and either debunking them or explaining them is a great one. If you do podcasts, health-related podcasts, podcast clips is a great one. And then some of the other, like, actual content-wise, I want to make some on, like, the dark history of medicine, like kind of disasters that happened in medicine that we can really learn from in the future. So I really want to create content that's valuable for everyone. There is obviously merit to niching down, but it depends on the audience you're trying to reach. If you niche down too much, you might not reach the broad enough audience that your health content actually is aiming to reach. So I think having that broad content, seeing on Google Trends, for example, what people are searching for at the time. Are people searching about this new drug being licensed or repurposed to prevent breast cancer? Are people searching about that? Is that a good video for me to make? Are there more common topics that people are actively searching right now? Or are there topics about rare and chronic conditions that I want to raise awareness of? You can have all of these different ideas in mind of this kind of topic that I want to make, the playlist that I want to put it into, and ultimately batching content or creating content ideas and labeling them as this particular category, and then continuing to make videos in those categories that your viewers are going to latch onto. For example, the medical quizzes, for example, the news reactions, for example, the TikTok reactions. So if you have those formats in mind and you are continuously coming up with ideas for them, it makes that ideation process much easier and it makes your videos a lot more recognizable to your viewers.
Azmain, this has been such a valuable episode. And just as we close up, I want to bring you back to something you said probably about half an hour ago now. And you were talking about how you wouldn't quit unless you'd been producing content consistently for 5 years. And a lot of creators, they understand that it's a long game, right? Ali Abdaal says it. He says that anyone that's complaining that they haven't grown, they need to consistently produce a video a week for 10 years and then they should come back to me. And like you've been saying, you've been producing content consistently now for coming up to 3 years, but it's only in the last year that you went from, I think, 1,000 followers to over 300k followers on Instagram. So it's really understanding that long game. So talk to me a little bit about the power of compounding and words of encouragement for any other clinician creators that are listening?
First of all, it's not about the numbers. If you start, you have to start with the intention that if I make a video, if one person watches that video, then it's worth it. And that video could be your mum. Your mum could be your first subscriber, and my family are my biggest cheerleaders. But even then, I remember my mum telling me this time last year, you're putting a hell of a lot of time and effort into your YouTube channel. I know Ali Abdaal inspired you, but not everyone can be Ali Abdaal. I'm here to tell you that you can. You just have to have the right mindset. And that's what I was telling Ali Abdaal as I was walking up the stairs of 10 Downing Street with him back in May. So it's crazy how fast things can happen. But you just have to have that right mindset in that, what is your mission? What is your raison d'être? It's like, if you're making health content, you want it to reach an audience out there, and you want it to benefit people's lives, and you want to have an impact on public health. If that's the aim, then you're not going to stop making content if it gets only 100 views, are you? Because 100 views, how many patients can you see in a clinic? At the moment, I have 30-minute appointments, so I see 8 patients a day, which I'm really lucky. But if you see 10 patients with 10-minute appointments, you could see maybe 40 patients in a day. Imagine 100 people watching that video, let alone 1,000, let alone a stadium full of people if you keep at it and keep leveling up. One of my videos I've seen that's recently gone viral on Instagram is one that I made on rabies, on World Rabies Day. I didn't know that it was World Rabies Day, but it was just a 1 out of 365 coincidence. And that's gone viral to about 700,000 plus views. And people are learning what rabies is. People are learning how it can be transmitted and the possible symptoms. You're not going to get the 700,000 views unless you are happy with the 7 views or the 700 views initially. You have to have the intention that you're in this for the long game and that you are not going to see huge numbers at the beginning. There's a thing that Mr. Beast says that really resonates with me. I don't know if he was talking with Colin and Samir, but he said that if he were to make a faceless channel today, within a matter of weeks, he would get 10 million subscribers. That is not because of how many subscribers he already has. It's because of the amount of effort and years of effort he has put into understanding makes a good YouTube video, but most importantly, what makes a viewer tick, that viewer psychology, and understanding that the YouTube algorithm doesn't push your videos out, it pulls videos into the viewer that they're interested in. So if you understand that, you're not going to be frustrated anymore about why is YouTube not pushing my videos out, because that's not the way it works. It's going to pull in videos for each viewer that is interested in your content. If you're making content that a particular viewer, an avatar that you can create, is interested in, and you continue making that format of videos, you are informing the YouTube algorithm that these are the kind of viewers that actually watch your videos. You are building that community. You are building that generation of fans that will trust you and keep coming back to watch your videos and content because you are the voice that they listen to. That's not going to happen overnight. That's not going to happen in a few weeks. That's not going to happen in a few years even. It could take up to 10 years. But if you give up on that point on the exponential curve, then you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. So if you've seen the light, if you've realized that making YouTube videos and putting content out there to benefit people, to impact their lives and to have a legacy and to have basically an online portfolio of your work that people can easily search up, if you've seen that light, then you will know that this is what you're meant to be doing and that this is the long game and numbers don't matter. the value that you're providing matters, and having those right intentions will carry you forward until you reach success.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Naval Ravikant says something similar to what Mr. B says, where he says, I'd like to think that if you drop me off on any corner in the US, within 3 months I would have built $1 billion business. And that's not because of who he knows, it's because of the art he's built over decades of being able to create a business. And you spoke a little bit about the long game there, and I look up to Tim Ferriss, who's a huge podcaster, and he talks a little bit about playing this long game and choosing, if you choose something that's even slightly depleting, in the long term that will compound over time. And so it's just really important to also understand what energizes you, and I think that's the point also to end with, because I, like you, I knew I wanted to create content somehow, but I don't think I would be able to do what you do, because I don't think that's energizing to me personally, which is why I picked podcasting. I enjoy having conversations with people. That's my form of content that energizes me, and I have huge aspirations for this podcast and becoming the biggest health entrepreneurship podcast in the world. And I know that's not going to happen overnight, and it's something that I'm going to consistently do over the next 5 to 10 years.
Exactly. And I was telling you, I tried to start building a podcast with a really close friend of mine back in March, but I realized that this is something worth pursuing. I've spent money on buying the equipment for it, and I haven't given up on that. But I realized there are ways that I can spend my energy better right now, building my leverage, building my connections. And I realized that if I make this podcast, it is going to have value, it's going to get big. And I see Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett and the amount of value he creates using that. And I see people like you, Ash, who are building a podcast from scratch. You don't mind how many views it gets at first. You have that clear vision and that mission in mind, and that is so commendable and so inspiring. And I want to make a podcast eventually, because it's all about having that vision in mind, not letting any other person in the world discourage you, and always looking for what energizes you. Saying no, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And for me, YouTube is a hell yes. And I think that's the philosophy that will keep any content creator, including a clinician creator, going in the long run, because it is worth it.
That is a fantastic way to end the podcast. Azmain, it's been my pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Esh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. And let's chat again very, very soon, please.
Thanks for getting to the end of the episode. Please consider leaving a review on iTunes and subscribing on YouTube. It really helps the channel to grow and means the world to me. Until next time, and see you soon.